Chapter 11, Selfishness. Millennial Man, the 13th floor. We don't always realize that our actions and our characters have a major impact on people around us, on those who raised us, our siblings, our friends, schoolmates, and our colleagues, those we spend our lives with and spend our time with, those we raise and teach, and those who see us often like neighbors, club and church members, etc. Our level of selfishness affects all these relationships. We are by nature selfish creatures. Early on, we start caring for or acting on our own natural needs first, such as need for food and water, a need to be held and accompanied, and a need to be loved. Then as we get older, the desire for pleasure, such as sex, issues of pride, acceptance, control, become a driving force in our lives. We don't start to care about what others need or what we can do to help others generally until our brains and bodies develop a little. However, there are young people and children who have an amazing sense of caring and giving to others. These shining souls stand out brightly, but unfortunately, they are not currently the norm. To have these become the norm is a worthy goal. Probably one of the most major issues that have to do with how all these relationships unfold and how positively productive we are in them is the level of selfishness we possess and act out. How and what we learn from our environments growing up has a direct impact on if and when we start to care about the well-being of the world around us. If our guardians don't care about the world around them, how can they teach us the importance of it? We come up through adolescence and grow into the people we become by our lessons and our examples in life, added with personal experiences. We need to consider this carefully when looking to have a positive impact on our world. Why is this issue of selfishness important to the millennial man? It is important to us because in order to be successful leaders and teachers on all levels, we need to be willing to give of ourselves unselfishly, and we also need to understand how severely selfishness actually hurts mankind. It is selfishness at the root of a lot of our problems in this nation, from the upper class to the lower class, from the leaders, rulers, and business owners, all the way to the laborers and common communities. To be able to recognize and rescind selfishness, most importantly within ourselves, is an immensely important task and quite difficult at times. This is a must for millennial men in order to be productive in our duties. Sadly, too many people use their knowledge of selfishness and people's tendency towards it to manipulate masses and hinder real progress. Among the less prominent, yes, there are corrupt leaders and business owners who use our natural desire to be selfish as an asset to their own selfish plans. A battle rages in our society, a psychological and spiritual battle, and selfishness is the main weapon utilized to retain power and control by our enemies. There are other leaders whom selfishness has blinded and hindered from seeing truths essential to the world's common welfare. We want to avoid this problem when we become leaders, rulers, and business owners, or when we continue in these roles. No matter what capacity we are leading in, we need to be aware of these important truths. A true millennial man will have a good understanding of the factors and will be willing to address these issues and will contribute to the solving the selfishness problem, which is only one among many such problems. Families are hurt, communities are hurt, and government is hurt extensively by the issue of selfishness. It is up to us as men to realize our own level of selfishness and how we've allowed it to influence our production as leaders in our world, whether at home, in communities, or government. We need to make the necessary changes to better ourselves and the world around us. If millennial men spend some time focusing energy on this issue and put some effort into it, we can be more effective in our roles, ridding ourselves of our and our society's destructive trends. Selfish trends cause divorce, neglect, laziness, perversion, divisions, and lack of involvement and teaching by parents, guardians, and other leaders. A free system by the people, for the people, is only sustained by people willing to work at maintaining it, and people willing to put the well-being of the whole above themselves. Our current inability to accomplish this feat on a nationwide scale is the primary reason for positive structure being destroyed on all levels, from homes to government, and is also the cause of inability to rise above poverty and failure. Divorce rate is high, fatherless children increase and are suffering, freedom stands in jeopardy, and the general ignorance level of society is shameful. all because of selfishness. No more men, we must make a stand and act out of selfless motive and self-sacrifice. Men, we cannot allow selfishness to continue to destroy us and our nation. A good leader, valued by the people and dependable in the community, requires a sincere desire to serve and help others, and a willingness to put up a fight against divisive trends, attitudes, and propaganda. Without having current examples of unselfishness and how it benefits readily available and in the public's eye, the selfish culture will continue to get worse and will become difficult to oppose and overcome. Truly, our state of affairs will continue to deteriorate unless millennial men can realize the need and act in unity to stand for these just causes. We as men will always possess a certain amount of selfish characteristics by nature, but to be totally self-absorbed to the point we neglect our responsibilities is and will be very destructive to our way of living. It also has a direct negative impact on homes, children, community, and government. Selfishness has a great number of our men and women who are leaders in some capacity, even role models, striving for money, power, control, and acceptance with a certain crowd. Our leaders and role models should be striving for moral code, work ethic, justice, freedom, unity, and proper education for our youth, teaching how these values and principles are beneficial to all and are important to our future generations. A successful leader always has to be conscious of the natural pull to fulfill the passions and desires of the human body and mind, pride of life, and how these things can influence our judgment. A great philosopher once said, "A superior man will not stray from virtue even for one single meal." Millennial men, we need to master these things in order that our people will not suffer from our selfishness. If we expect our leaders to be virtuous and put our well-being above their own selfishness, wouldn't it be a reasonable thing to do the same for our homes and communities? In a bountiful world, each person within this nation would be willing to dedicate a small piece of their own lives for the preservation of freedom and order, and the general betterment and unity of our people. Whether it be time, effort, money, or knowledge, this would do a great deal for the idea of unselfish living and unity. A spirit of giving of ourselves by the supreme leaders, military, or common folks will always prove to be a success in our lives, in all aspects, physical, psychological, and spiritual. No matter the country, culture, government, or religion, we should be teaching, leading, feeding, and protecting our poor and needy voluntarily. Unfortunately, we have come to believe government cares for people, so we as a people don't need to care for one another. Selfishness is like cancer to a life and to a functional, free society. We need to take all steps necessary to build our homes, communities, and government to what they have potential to be. Whose job is it to do this? It is the millennial man's job. Period.